our team to give us the best chance to be successful. And even if we didn't win the Olympics, at least I would know in 15 years from now that I did everything possible, that we did everything possible to be successful. So we made our team change, and we were highly scrutinized. My poor mom, I always say, she plays bridge with a group in the neighborhood every 2 weeks, and I don't think her bridge group will ever be the same. My poor mom had to go through answering all the questions as to why we did this. And I told her, just stand and hold your head up high because you did it for all the right reasons. So the first year, so an Olympic cycle is 4 years. So the first year, all we wanted to do was remember why we love what we do. And that's the one thing that's so contagious to me about WFG, is everybody, and my husband even says it, they're the happiest people I've ever met. Like, we go to convention and everybody loves being there. Everybody loves doing what you're doing. But sometimes through the gruel of the everyday and trying to build your business and, you know, the ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows, sometimes you forget why we love to do what we do. And you have to take that moment to remember. For me, it's the smell of the curling ice. Just to take that moment to breathe it in and it just reminds me of the childhood passion that I have, that adrenaline rush, that we're doing what we're passionate about. And I can tell you guys, I can see the passion in WFG. There is so much passion there. Don't ever let it get lost. Because that's the drive for success. That's what's going to fuel the fire, is that passion. To go out every day, to do what Monty's saying, to have that work ethic, and to ensure that you're at your work and you're not that fisherman working 2 hours a day. To ensure that you're there because you're passionate and you love what you do. And it's there, just don't lose it. So for us, it was all about remembering why we love doing what we do. Remembering to smell the ice, as I say, to be in the moment, to enjoy the moment, and to not let any other distractions come in. And to be okay with that. So the first year, and I just share this story because it's funny, but it's so true. So the first year, we invited Caitlin to our team. Now, Caitlin had no experience. And again, it's finding that one person in WFG that's going to change your business, right? Mm-hmm. So Caitlin was this young woman, just out of juniors, had no experience in women's competition, really. She had just been out of juniors, and everybody kind of questioned our decision because we went from somebody who was highly experienced to somebody with no experience. But what Caitlin had was a passion and a love of the game, and energy and excitement. She was going to bring that passion back to what we had lost. And she had that in spades. You can teach somebody to be great at what they do, but you can't teach somebody to have passion, drive, determination, to be a good team person. You can't teach that. And Caitlin had that. So our first year, we just said, you know what? It doesn't matter about what we win. We want to go remembering why we love to curl. So we always start our year off in Europe. It's the first event of the year. We go to Norway. And Scandinavia is incredibly expensive, and we're on a low budget, so we always go somewhere before to get over the jet lag. And because we've gone so many times, we actually ended up in Istanbul, which I know is nowhere close to Norway. Like, I understand. So, and Caitlin had been away in Alberta the entire summer. So I met her twice. Okay, so here we are. We're fresh. We're excited to go. We're being scrutinized. There's all this pressure. The media's all over us. Everybody's watching every move that we make. So off we go to Istanbul. This is for 3 days to get over the jet lag, and then we're going to head to Norway. And when we go to a country, we always believe you have to experience the culture in the country. If you're going to experience life, you have to be willing to branch out. And so we go to Istanbul. It was Jill's turn to plan, and she picked Turkish bath. Yeah, you laugh. I had no idea what that meant, actually. So off we go. We go to this Turkish bath, and we walk in, and I'm like, they hand you this little towel that I swear my 4-year-old can barely cover her. So we have this little towel, and we go to the change room, and we're all in there, and here's little wee Caitlin with her towel, and we walk out, this big Turkish woman. Caitlin goes first, and she rips off Caitlin's towel. And I said, welcome to the team. And we just all, like, you couldn't get more vulnerable than that. So we threw it all out there, and we laughed about it. And it was the first time in a very long time that we laughed, and we enjoyed what we were doing. And we all said that we have to always remember to laugh, to enjoy the moment, to be in the moment, to not be so focused on the end goal that you forget to experience all the great things that are happening in the day-to-day. And that moment, it brought it all together. We laughed. We hadn't laughed like that in forever. And we threw it all out there. And then, So we go in, and I'm super shy. People don't believe this about me because I'm yelling like a crazy person on TV. But I'm shy, so we go in there, and they take your towel, and they don't give it back. I literally played tug-of-war with this lady trying to get my towel back, but they don't give you your towel back. And you have these flip-flops that you're given, and you're not allowed to leave the bath area without your flip-flops. Well, somebody has stolen my flip-flops.
Oh.
So I'm walking around without a towel, I'm trying to get my flip-flops. And my team, in that moment, was willing to steal other flip-flops so I could vacate that bathing area. So we all came together as this team at this Turkish bath, and it sounds ridiculous, but it was about really remembering the power of being vulnerable, the power of just putting it all out there, and not being afraid to make fun of yourself or to experience new things. And I knew that was check one off the list, was year one. We became a true team. And I don't suggest you have to go to Turkish bath with everybody to become a true team, but just to be vulnerable. And year two was all about technical, like trying to improve and trying to be as good as we could be like in a technical perspective. It was at the end of year two that I slipped and I fell, and I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus in my knee. So basically I tore every ligament that hold my knee together. Mm-hmm. So we had all this success, and I basically blew out my knee, and I didn't know if I'd ever curl again. And it was my husband. We were sitting at a cafe in Switzerland where I hurt myself. And he said to me, Jennifer, I've never met anybody with more determination, with more passion than you. And if anybody can do this, it's you. And don't let anybody tell you you can't. And I always believed that, but to have somebody else say that to me was so powerful. And you guys have that power. You have that power to change somebody's perspective, somebody's life. You have that power to make them believe in themselves even when they may not. Because people want to believe in themselves. But sometimes they just need a boost. And so I had, it was interesting. So I was in Switzerland, and my husband was competing at the World Championships there. And the head doctor for his championship was actually an orthopedic surgeon. And so I didn't know the degree of my injury at the point, and I'm very, I was like, oh, it's just muscular. My knee's like 4 times its normal size. And so the doctor takes one look at it, and he's like, Jennifer, I think we need to get an MRI. And he actually drove me in his car to the MRI, and I got the results the same day. And I was all worried about how much it was going to cost, because Switzerland's actually quite expensive. I had no insurance to cover this. And he's like, Jennifer, this is Switzerland's contribution to Canadian athletics. So he didn't charge me. And that's the kindness of people. And he was the first person. The first day we arrived in the Olympic Village, I was in the dining hall, and this person came up and hugged me from behind. And it could be something, I don't know, Russian, I don't know. And I turned around, and it was Dr. Weisskopf. And he was there, and he's like, I'm rooting for you. You're an inspiration. Except when you play Switzerland. I said, okay, fair enough. So anyway, so I go for my pre-op, so I need to get surgery on my knee, and I'm going to do this. I have 1.5 years before the Olympic trials. I can do this. And my husband and I had been trying to conceive a baby for a very long time. And I was doing my pre-ops, and I found out I was pregnant. And it was like this miracle. I didn't know if it was ever going to happen. And here I am, I'm pregnant, and so now they don't want to do the surgery. So if I don't do the surgery, I can't go to the Olympics. Or I can't even try to go to the Olympics. So I sat down with them, and we figured out a plan, and said, well, you can do it, but you can't get pain meds. I said, okay, because I just heard you can do it. And I didn't really think about it. So sure enough, that's what I did. So I went through the surgery without pain medication. I was frozen for the surgery, but it was, but you can do anything you want to do if you set your mind to it. And I had this goal and this vision, and you have to be willing to kind of go through some of the, the bumps along the way in order to be successful. They told me it was going to take me at least 1 year to recover. I had to do all my physio while pregnant, so I was getting larger as the weeks went on. And I have to say, this is the one story about WFG that I'll never forget. That's the why I'll do anything ever for this company, anything you guys ever need. Because in that moment, Rick had just decided that he was going to sponsor us right before I left for my trip to Switzerland. WFG was going to sponsor us. And then I come back, and I blown out my knee. Like literally, like it was 2 days before I left for my trip. And then I blew out my knee. Now I have to tell Rick that I blew out my knee and I'm having a baby. So it's going to be a while until I get back on the ice. It took him literally less than a second to say, well, that doesn't matter, Jennifer. We're all about family. And we're here for you. And he believed in me. And I thought, that is just unheard of in the corporate world. Like here I am, like who knows what's going to happen to me? And you guys believed in me, and the rest is history, really. But they had told me I was going to be, I wouldn't be back on the ice until January at the earliest. I actually was back on the ice in August. I was due beginning of December. My daughter actually came 5 weeks early. So I was actually on the ice the day I went into labor and practicing, and I was back on the ice competing 10 days after. So but the other story I want to share with you, and this is actually another WFG story. So I was going to film, because I couldn't make convention that year. We were supposed to go to convention, but I was having my surgery beginning of June, and convention was in June. And I was like, I'm going to be on crutches, I just didn't know if I could make it. And Rick was great. He's like, well, just film a testimonial. I said, no problem. So this was about 2 weeks post-op. And Taylor, if you guys know Taylor, he was coming to pick me up because I couldn't drive because it was my right leg. So we live an hour and a half north. We live in Horse Valley. So I don't know, okay. So Taylor was coming to pick me up, and I was rushing around, and I was trying to get my clothes. And so I'm on crutches, and we have these big stairs at home. And I thought, going down on my butt is it takes too long, right? So I can tackle this, I'll just go forwards. Oh. I know, exactly. I don't know, I think I'm an intelligent person, but I didn't really think this one through, and I timbered like a tree from the top stair all the way down to the bottom, and I was pregnant, and my knee, so I sacrificed my head, which I thought was a really good idea. And actually, it didn't hurt anything at the time. My phone smashed into a million pieces, so I couldn't call anybody. And so I'm trying to regroup, and I was trying to regroup because it was my first meeting with WFG, really, my first thing that I had to do. And so Taylor shows up, I didn't say anything, and he shows up in this BMW, this little car. I'm trying to get my leg in. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I didn't know, this is the first time I met Taylor, so... And I had this little cut on my head. I kind of got the bleeding to stop. So that testimony you heard, that was the story going in advance. But the reason I share that story is because I was stubborn. And stubborn is great. Stubborn means determination sometimes. Stubborn means that you can conquer anything, that you can do anything. But what you have to do is be willing to surround yourself with brilliant people, which you are surrounded by, like the Rick Williams, the Monties, and be willing to listen to them. And it was in that moment that I said, I am going to do no less and no more than my doctors and physiotherapists said I should do, because they're the experts. I'm not an expert in medicine. So I went to see my doctor the next day and my physio to make sure I didn't damage anything. And they made me sign a piece of paper. I was the only patient that my physio said I ever had to sign that said I was going to do no more, no less than he told me to do. And I was on the ice 4 months early. So if you're willing to listen to the brilliant people that you surround yourself with, the brilliant people that have spent so much time studying how to be successful, how to get through the ups and the downs, it's going to make you more successful. It's going to save you from having a concussion, okay? It's going to save you from doing silly and stupid things because they've already gone through that. They've experienced it. So take that in and bring that into your business. And because of that, I firmly believe it's why I recovered so fast, because I did exactly what they told me to do, when to do it, how many times, and I was able to recover in a very, very efficient manner. So that takes me through to this Olympic trials. We went through all of this, my team, and the spotlight was on us, and now we're playing in Winnipeg, my hometown. There's no more pressure than playing in your hometown. Everybody's looking at us. My 1-year-old daughter, everywhere we went in Winnipeg, there's a big billboard of her mummy. Like, she thought every mummy was on a billboard. And like, there was just, even today, there's a big billboard of me when you fly into Winnipeg, and my mommy's like, oh, mommy, look, it's Jennifer Jones. And I'm like, yeah, that's me, honey. Like, so there was all this pressure, but we had the strength of team. We weren't scared to lose. I knew that if I had a shot to win and I missed it, my team was going to be the first people there to pick me up and not throw me under the bus. It was the first time that I'd ever been a part of a team that was so powerful that I knew that they were going to be surrounding me, that they were going to be, it was just like this, we were this one big unit. And so we went out there, and not only did we not, this time we made the playoffs, but we actually broke performance record standards for women's curling at the Olympic trials that had never been seen before. We played better than any women's curling team had ever played before. And I firmly believe it's because we had a true team. if you can find that, if you can bring out the best in each other in those pressure moments, you're going to be successful. So that was at the Olympic trials, and it was crazy. And now all of a sudden we're going to the Olympics, the biggest event, the biggest spotlight that you could ever experience. We're off to the Olympics, and so you're excited. I mean, I was beyond excited. A dream come true. So we stayed up a little late, I'll admit, the night that we won, and then the next day you have these meetings with the Canadian Curling Association to try to go over what's going to happen in Sochi. And all of the meetings, the first thing they say is, we're not expecting great things from this Olympics. Okay. We're worried about safety. We don't know if the facility is going to be ready. We don't think your family should come. The food is going to be an issue. They're going on and on and on. And I actually interrupted and I said, do we get to wear the clothes with the maple leaf and the rings on them? And they're like, yeah, okay, we're all good. Really. We have the power to not let anybody change our dreams and to knock us down. In that moment, they were trying to take everything that we've dreamed of for a decade away from us. In our eyes, those Olympics were going to be the best Olympics ever. And I could have been in a sleeping bag, sleeping on the floor. I didn't care. We got to represent Canada at the Olympics. And that's all that mattered. And nobody had the power to take that away from us. Nobody. And it made me so angry when we were sitting in there. And then we get to the Olympics. Well, it's funny, before that, and then we went through our flights to get to Sochi. So we were staging in Switzerland. You always go over to stage somewhere before. So you'd think, you just fly Toronto, Zurich? That would make sense. No. We were going Toronto we went to Belgium to Istanbul, and Istanbul to Paris. It was a deal, I guess, on a flight. I don't know. And we tried to change it, and we couldn't change it because we wouldn't be able to get out of Istanbul on the way back, or out of Sochi on the way back. So instead of our team, who's not going to let anybody take this away from us, instead of getting upset, we're like, excellent, we get to go back to Istanbul, where it all began. And we had a 12-hour layover, so maybe we could have taken a bath, And we ended up being late. We didn't get the bath, but it was just this great moment because none of us got upset. Because why? We can't control that. We can't change that. And so we had this terrific attitude, and we showed up at the Olympics, and it turned out to be one of the best Olympics in Olympic history. Our accommodations were second to none. Our living room looked over the Black Sea, and every day dolphins jumped. I think so. I think he might have had them locked in there, so they jumped. I try not to think about that, but every day those dolphins jumped. Way off in the distance there was an American battleship, so we were safe. And my bedroom overlooked the Olympic torch and the hockey rink, so I always knew the score in the game. It took us 5 minutes to walk to our facilities because it was so close. It was the best Olympics in terms of logistics that they'd ever seen. And if we had let them take that away from us, we would have gone in with a negative attitude. And a negative attitude will control your perspective. It's just the way it is. If you think something's going to be bad, it's really hard to change it. But if you go in and say, it's going to be the best, it's this perspective. It's like when I had my daughter, because I was comparing it to my knee surgery, I thought labor was a piece of cake. But I thought it was going to be awful, and it was way better. So, was it great? No. It was like on a spot? Absolutely not. But it was way better than I thought it was going to be. My husband was looking at me because I was smiling. Because I had changed my perspective. And you can change your perspective. The power of mind is more powerful than anything. I truly believe that. And when Teresa was asking me, so now we're at the Olympics, the biggest pressure, and millions of people are watching. And it's the loudest. I couldn't even talk to Caitlin if she was standing beside me. It was that loud. But it didn't matter. We weren't scared to lose. I had this great team that was going to pick me up. Our motto was just enjoy the moment, to soak up everything the Olympics had to offer. Every second of every day in those Olympics was like a moment that we would treasure forever. And so we did that. We enjoyed every second of every day, and I try to do that in life. I try to have at least 3 things in the day that I remember. And I do that with my daughter every night before we go to bed. I tell her to tell me the 3 things that made her smile that day. Because negative energy is what we focus on. The things that go wrong, it's human nature to just think of those things and not think of all the amazing things that went right. So I try to get my daughter to remember all of the great things that happened in the day. And she could have just been having a fit because I wouldn't give her a brownie before bed. But we try to remember all the great things that we did, maybe coloring a picture or whatever it was that brought joy to our life. And we try to do that on our curling team. And the other thing that we insist upon is to always be present. So when we have an 8:30 in the morning game, we're meeting at 6:30. So we're up at 5. It's just the way it is. And we used to go into the meetings and people would have a cup of coffee, they'd still be eating their breakfast. Because it's early and so you're trying to rush around. But then people weren't present, they were distracted. Or they're on their phones. There's nothing like, you don't want to be in the middle of a meeting when you're talking and people are not even paying attention to you, right? So we have this rule that if you're gonna be there, you have to look the part. Like if you're gonna be there, you have to be present. Then if not, why bother being there? And so that's a rule that we have in our team. If you're gonna show up, you have eaten your breakfast, you're ready to go, and you're present. And my team would always make fun of me because whoever would room with me, I'm like the biggest morning person. But am I really a morning person? No. Who wants to get up in the morning? I'd rather stay in bed, not set an alarm. But my team thinks I'm the biggest morning person ever because I've convinced myself every day I'm gonna have a great day. So whoever would room with me, I'd be like, morning, it's time to rise and shine. And they're like, oh my God. Like they just want their coffee. But that energy, they could see why I did that because I convinced myself I had energy, I was gonna have a great day, no matter how tired, no matter if I got an hour of sleep or 3 hours of sleep. My baby was up all night last night. Do you know that? No. I got an hour and a half of sleep. She was crabby. I don't know why, but she was. So you just can convince yourself that you can be a certain way. And what was powerful to me is, do you guys know who Mike Babcock is? Head coach for the Maple Leafs. Yeah. So he was the head coach of the men's hockey team when we were over there. And I had never met Mike Babcock before in my life. So we're walking through the Olympic Village, all dressed in our Canada gear. And it was, I don't know, like 5 days in, we'll say. I think we played 3 games. And all of a sudden this man is running after me, like literally full force run. And like, if he didn't have the Canada stuff on, I might have like run away. Like he was like running, he's yelling, and I'm like running, and he's running, and I was with Jill and Dawn, and Jill's really tall, so I tended to hide behind her, and he was pointing at me, and I had no idea who it was, and all of a sudden he gets closer, and he's like, you! And I'm like, whoa! Like, he's pretty intense. He's like, and I'm like, what? He's like, you have that look in your eye. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I want to teach all my hockey players to have that look. You have that look that nothing's going to stop you. And he could see it. And that's what you see. But it's not something, and my team used to tell me that they knew we were going to win a game if I looked a certain way. I'm like, oh, how easy is that? Let's hire a makeup artist. And it finally, so it took some time, but I knew what they meant. If I looked confident, if I looked at them in the eyes, if I had an energy about me, if I was present, if I looked prepared, they knew that we were going to be successful. And why not? Like if you go into a meeting and you believe in yourself and you believe in your team, you're going to exude this confidence that they're just going to soak up. And I never really fully understood it until they said it. And then when Mike Babcock told that to me, I thought, wow, it's that obvious. And when I went to the Vancouver games as an analyst in the Olympics, I could see from an outsider looking in the teams that were functioning well together. It's that obvious. You can see if they're functioning well, if they're great team dynamics, if they've got confidence. So I wanted to bring that to our team. And Mike Babcock, one of the best coaches in the history, in my opinion, of coaching, could see that we had that look. And he says to me, that Jacobs team, the men's curling team, they don't have that look, you gotta change it. And they were 1 and 2 at the time, and they actually struggled in the beginning, and it took a long time. And Brad and I had talked afterwards, and he said, yeah, we were nervous, we were scared to lose, we were feeling the way we needed to feel, and then he looked at our team, and we were just so loose and ready to play and not scared to lose, and so they changed it. So I think all of you could have that look. You just have to understand what it means. It's not it's looking at people in the eyes. I really believe that if you can look at your team in the eyes, and if you can be confident in yourself, then that'll show confidence to them. If you can show passion for what you're doing, because we all have it, they'll see that as well. And energy, and being present. And I think you know what I mean when I say being present. Mm-hmm. Like actually being there. There's one thing about physically being present, but actually being there and showing them that you're there for them. Because it's scary to start in a business. It's scary to take those first steps. It's scary to take those first steps on the Olympic rings or on the Olympic ice. It's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there to fail. But if you know you have somebody that's present, that's there for you, that's confident in what they're doing, it makes those steps a lot easier. And so that was our Olympic journey, and Mike Babcock, I'll never forget it. We become friends after that. And even the closing ceremonies, he tried to chase me down again. This time I wasn't as scared of him. And he's like, I told you had that look. I had no doubt that you guys were going to win. And we went through undefeated. We set an Olympic record. Nobody's ever done that before. Because we, and it was interesting. One of the biggest compliments I actually did. Goosebumps when I think about it. One of the biggest compliments I ever had was right after we won the Olympics. And we beat Great Britain in the semifinal to get to the final. We beat Sweden in the final. And the coach from Sweden is as intense as Mike Babcock, but for Swedes. So he was obviously not wanting us to win. And David Hay, who's the coach for the Great Britain team, is somebody I have the utmost admiration for. And they both came up to me separately and essentially said that nobody was beating us, that they've never seen a performance like we put on. Our team performed very well at the Olympic trials. At the Olympics, we set performance standards that have never been seen before in women's curling. And I believe that those records will stand for a while. Yep. We performed better than we'd ever had in the biggest moment, on the biggest stage, because we had the power of team, because we enjoyed the moment, and because we weren't scared to lose. We weren't scared to fail. We wanted to succeed, and we wanted to enjoy the steps along the way. And we got to take that step on top of that podium for all of Canada. And it really was. You feel like when you're successful, I'm sure Teresa feels this as well, when you get to go to the Olympics, when you're successful, it's because of the people that you surrounded yourself with. And you take those moments for your team, and we felt like we took that step for Canada, and that is what life is all about. To do something where it's for so many other people other than yourself, it's really magical. And as you're growing your teams and you can see them being successful, how much gratification that must give to you. To see other people change their lives, their families, changing people's lives is not something that many people in life get to do, and you are all doing it every day. So congratulations, and thank you very much for having me here today.